Chapter 1. The Ultimate Weapon unveiled. The asteroid base hung like a forgotten tomb in the vast emptiness of space, its surface scarred by countless micrometeorite impacts and the harsh radiation of distant stars. Deep within its hollowed-out core, humanity's most guarded secret pulsed with barely contained energy. Commander Sarah Chen stood before the massive reinforced viewing port, her weathered hands pressed against the cool metal railing. Behind her, the sound of hurried footsteps and urgent whispers filled the command center. Scientists huddled over holographic displays that flickered with incomprehensible equations, while engineers made final adjustments to systems that hummed. With an almost musical tension, Commander Dr. Marcus Webb approached, his voice barely above a whisper. The final calibrations are complete. The Aegis Dominus is ready. Sarah's reflection stared back at her from the darkened glacier woman, who had aged decades in the span of years, her eyes carrying the weight of countless battles, countless losses. The Dominion had taken everything from humanity, their colonies, their hope, their children, but now, in this moment, they had something the Dominion had never expected. "Show me," she commanded. The lights dimmed, and the viewing port's opacity shifted, revealing the cavernous hangar beyond. What Sarah saw took her breath away. Even though she had overseen its construction for 3 years, the Aegis Dominus stretched nearly 2 kilometers in length, its hull a masterpiece of angular geometry and flowing curves that seemed to defy conventional engineering. Dark metal absorbed the ambient light, making the ship appear to bend reality around itself. Along its spine, energy conduits pulsed with an ethereal blue glow, like the heartbeat of some cosmic leviathan. Humanity had always been outmatched. Sarah spoke softly, her words carrying to every corner of the command center. Fighting an uphill battle against an overwhelming enemy, but in the shadows of space, the final weapon has been completed. The one thing that could bring the Dominion to its knees and turn the tide of the war forever. Behind her, the assembled crew veterans or survivors of the siege of Proxima, witnesses to the fall of New Earth, stood in reverent silence. They had lost families, friends, entire worlds to the Dominion's relentless expansion, but now, finally, they had hope. Chapter 2. A Revolution in Warfare. The briefing room buzzed with nervous energy as Sarah activated the central holographic projector. The Aegis Dominus materialized in 3-dimensional glory, rotating slowly as technical specifications scrolled alongside its image. The Aegis Dominus wasn't just a ship, it was a revolution in space warfare. Sarah began, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what she was revealing. Built from the remnants of forgotten technology and advanced alien research, this destroyer was designed with one purpose: to break the Dominion's hold on the galaxy. Chief Engineer Yuki Tanaka stepped forward, her cybernetic arm interfacing directly with the holographic controls. The primary weapons system consists of energy disruption cannons, she explained, highlighting the massive arrays along the ship's flanks. These emit high-frequency energy waves that don't just penetrate Dominion shields, they disrupt the quantum matrices that make their defenses possible. The hologram shifted, revealing the ship's core. A sphere of impossible complexity rotated, within layers of containment fields, its surface rippling with gravitational distortions. The Gravitational Singularity Core, Dr. Webb continued, his voice filled with equal parts pride and trepidation. It manipulates space-time itself, creating controlled micro-singularities. When deployed, it can crush enemy vessels by warping the fabric of reality around them. Lieutenant Commander Alex Rodriguez, the ship's tactical officer, highlighted the defensive systems. The adaptive shielding isn't just advanced, it's evolutionary. It learns from every attack, reconfiguring its energy patterns to counter new threats in real time. Sarah watched the faces around her as each system was explained. These weren't just specifications, they were the culmination of humanity's desperation, ingenuity, and unbreakable will to survive. "And the AI?" asked Captain Maria Santos, her scarred face betraying no emotion. "ARIA," Sarah replied, and the hologram shifted to show the ship's neural network, artificial reasoning and intelligence architecture. She can calculate enemy movements, predict attacks, and coordinate battle strategies faster than any human mind. She's not just a computer, she's a strategic partner. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. They weren't just looking at a weapon, they were looking at the future of warfare itself. Chapter 3. Testing the weapon. The moon, designated as test site, Omega, was a dead world. Its surface pockmarked with craters and swept by solar winds, was perfect for their purposes, isolated, uninhabited. and far from any Dominion patrol routes. Sarah stood on the bridge of the Aegis Dominus, her hands clasped behind her back as she watched the target fleet deploy. 40 decommissioned Dominion vessels, captured during various raids and fitted with automated systems, spread across the test zone like deadly flowers blooming in the void. ARIA, status report, Sarah commanded. All systems nominal, Commander. The AI responded, her voice carrying a subtle musical quality that made her seem almost human. Energy disruption, cannons charged to 85% capacity. Gravitational Singularity Core stable. Adaptive shielding online. Sarah's heart hammered against her ribs. Years of preparation, billions of credits, countless sacrifices, all leading to this moment. Around her, the bridge crew worked with practiced efficiency, their movements betraying none of the tension that filled the air like static electricity. Commence. Test sequence Alpha, Sarah ordered. The Aegis Dominus aligned itself with the target fleet, its massive bulk moving with surprising grace. The energy disruption cannons powered up, their crystalline matrices glowing with building energy. Firing, announced Lieutenant Rodriguez. The cannons erupted in brilliant streams of coherent energy that crossed a vast distance in seconds. The first wave of target ships shimmered as their shields encountered the disruptive frequencies. For a moment, the Dominion vessels seemed to resist them, their shields collapsed in cascading failures, and the hull-mounted weapons tore through. Their armor like paper, targets neutralized, ARIA reported with clinical precision. Shield penetration achieved in 2.3 seconds, complete structural failure in 4.7 seconds. Sarah felt a surge of satisfaction, but it was tempered by the knowledge of what came next. Commence test sequence Beta. The Gravitational Singularity Core hummed to life, its exotic matter containment fields shifting as they prepared to birth destruction. The remaining target ships hung in space like sitting ducks, their automated systems unaware of the fate approaching them. Singularity deployment in 3.2.1. Reality twisted. Space-time buckled around a point of infinite density, and the target fleet simply ceased. Not destroyed, annihilated. The micro-singularity consumed matter and energy indiscriminately, leaving nothing but the faintest gravitational echoes. The bridge fell silent. Sarah watched the empty space where 20 ships had existed moments before, and felt the weight of the moment settle on her shoulders like a lead blanket. As the Aegis Dominus unleashed its devastating firepower, she whispered to herself. Sarah Chen couldn't help but feel the weight of the moment. This weapon would win them the war, but at what cost? The power to destroy was now in humanity's hands. Behind her, she heard someone sob quietly. The sound cut through her like a blade because she understood. They had created something magnificent and terrible, something that could save them all or damn them forever. Chapter 4. The Dominion responds. The Dominion intelligence post on KEPLER 44 to be intercepted. The gravitational pulse 37 minutes after the test. The exotic energy signature was unlike anything in their databases. But the implications were clear. Humanity had developed something new, something dangerous. Admiral Kex'tar received the report aboard his flagship, the Sovereign's Wrath, as it patrolled the contested border regions. The tall, imposing figure studied the data with eyes that had witnessed the subjugation of 17 species. His scaled hide rippled with barely contained rage as he absorbed the implications. "Impossible," he hissed, his voice carrying the authority of absolute power. "The humans lack the technological sophistication for such weapons. The gravitational resonance patterns are undeniable," Admiral reported his intelligence officer, Commander Veltar. "They have weaponized singularity physics. The energy signature suggests a vessel of unprecedented destructive capability." Kex'tar's claws scraped against the armrest of his command throne. For 3 years, humanity had proven unexpectedly resilient, their guerrilla tactics and desperate innovations causing significant losses to Dominion forces. But this changed everything. "Summon the third battle fleet," he commanded. "We end this insurgency before it can deploy whatever abomination they have created." Across the galaxy, Sarah Chen stood in the communications center of the asteroid base, watching intercepted Dominion transmissions with growing alarm. The enemy was mobilizing not just ships, but entire fleets, converging on their position. Like antibodies responding to an infection, the Dominion had learned of humanity's new weapon, she announced to her assembled commanders. Kex'tar would stop at nothing to destroy it. But the question remained, could humanity deploy the Aegis Dominus in time to break the Dominion once and for all? The asteroid base erupted into controlled chaos as preparations began. Supply ships departed for hidden coordinates, carrying essential personnel and irreplaceable research data. The Aegis Dominus underwent final weapons checks, while her crew prepared for the battle of their lives. In her private quarters, Sarah opened a secure communication channel to the Terran Council. The holographic image of President Harrison appeared, his face grave with understanding. "How long do we have?" he asked without preamble. 48 hours, maybe less, Sarah replied. "The Dominion is coming in force. If we survive this, the war ends. If we don't, then humanity dies with honor," Harrison finished. "You have our blessing, Commander. End this." The communication closed, leaving Sarah alone with her thoughts and the weight of an entire species' future. Chapter 5. The Final Battle. The Dominion fleet emerged from hyperspace like a plague of metal locusts, their dark holes blotting out the stars. 700 ships of various classes, from nimble destroyers to massive dreadnoughts, deployed in perfect formation around the asteroid base. At their head, the Sovereign's wrath bristled with weapons that could crack planets. Sarah stood on the bridge of the Aegis Dominus, watching the enemy fleet through the main viewer. Around her, the bridge crew worked with desperate efficiency, their movements sharp with adrenaline and terror. "ARIA, tactical analysis," she commanded. "Enemy fleet composition: 47 dreadnoughts, 132 heavy cruisers, 215 destroyers, and 306 escort vessels," the AI reported. "Combined firepower exceeds our defensive capabilities by a factor of 23. But they've never faced us before," Sarah replied grimly. "Signal the fleet. All ships, prepare for battle. Today, we break the chains of oppression." The human fleet was pitifully small by comparison. 67 ships of various classes, veterans of countless skirmishes and desperate battles. But they had something the Dominion lacked. They had nothing left to lose. "Dominion fleet is hailing us," reported Communications Officer Chenwei on screen. Admiral Kex'tar's reptilian features filled the viewer, his eyes burning with predatory hunger. "Humans," he spoke, his voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. "You have developed weapons beyond your understanding. Surrender now, and your deaths will be swift." Sarah stepped forward, her uniform crisp despite the circumstances. "Admiral, I have a counter-proposal. Leave now, and we might let you live long enough to see your empire crumble." Kex'tar's laugh was like the sound of breaking glass. Brave words from a species facing extinction. "Very well. You will learn the price of defiance." The transmission cut, and space erupted into chaos. The Dominion fleet opened fire simultaneously, their weapons painting the void with destruction. Plasma beams and particle cannons lit up the darkness as the first wave of human ships charged forward, their shields flaring against the overwhelming firepower. "Aegis Dominus, you are clear to engage," Sarah commanded. "All weapons, full power." The energy disruption cannons blazed to life, their coherent beams reaching across the vast distance to strike the Dominion vanguard. The first wave of enemy ships shuddered as their shields collapsed in cascading failures, their hulls buckling under the exotic energy discharge. "Direct hits on 12 enemy dreadnoughts," reported Rodriguez. "Their shields are down, structural integrity compromised. Follow up with kinetic weapons," Sarah ordered. "Finish them." The Aegis Dominus's conventional weapons opened fire, railguns and missile batteries sending death across the void. The crippled Dominion ships exploded in brilliant fireballs, their destruction sending shockwaves through the enemy formation. But the Dominion adapted quickly. Their ships began evasive maneuvers, their shields reconfiguring to counter the new threat. Return fire concentrated on the Aegis Dominus, massive energy beams hammering against her adaptive shields, asterisk shields holding at 78%, reported the defensive systems officer. "The adaptive shielding is compensating for their attack patterns." Sarah watched the tactical display as the battle evolved. The Dominion was trying to flank them, using their superior numbers to overwhelm the human fleet. It was time to reveal their true weapon. "ARIA, prepare the Gravitational Singularity Core for deployment," she commanded. "Warning: deployment in close proximity to friendly forces carries significant risk," the AI responded. "Understood." Target the enemy flagship. The Aegis Dominus aligned itself with the Sovereign's wrath, its massive bulk rotating to bring the Singularity Core to bear. Around them, the battle raged with desperate intensity as human ships fought against overwhelming odds. "Singularity deployment in 10 seconds, ARIA announced. Sarah felt the universe hold its breath. This was at the moment that would decide the fate of two civilizations. 5.4.3.2.1. Reality screamed. The micro-singularity erupted into existence directly in front of the Sovereign's wrath. Its gravitational field so intense that space-time itself began to warp. The massive Dominion flagship fought against the inexorable pull, its engines straining at maximum power. But physics is an unforgiving master. Admiral Kex'tar's final transmission was a roar of rage and disbelief. As his flagship was crushed into a point of infinite density, its destruction creating a gravitational shockwave that rippled through the Dominion fleet. Flagship destroyed, Rodriguez reported, his voice filled with awe. Enemy fleet is in disarray. The remaining Dominion ships, witnessing the impossible destruction of their most powerful vessel, began to retreat. Their formation crumbled as panic spread through their ranks. Centuries of assumed superiority shattered in an instant. Asterisk. The Aegis Dominus had shattered the Dominion's strength, Sarah whispered, watching the enemy fleet scatter like leaves before a storm. The galaxy was no longer under their iron grip. For the first time in centuries, humanity had the power to shape its own destiny. Chapter 6. The Aftermath and the Road Ahead. 3 months after the Battle of Omega Station, Sarah stood in the observation deck of the rebuilt Terran Command Center, watching reconstruction ships work among the orbital platforms. The Dominion's surrender had been swift and complete once word of their flagship's destruction spread throughout their empire. The war was over. Humanity had won, but victory, she had learned, carried its own burdens. The Aegis Dominus hung in high orbit, its weapons powered down, but its presence a constant reminder of the price of freedom. Other species, former subjects of the Dominion, looked to humanity with a mixture of gratitude and fear. The casualty reports from the outer colonies, Dr. Webb said, approaching with a datapad. The final tally is ... substantial. Sarah took the pad but didn't look at it immediately. She had seen enough death to know that numbers, no matter how large, could never capture the true cost of war. Every digit represented lives lost, families destroyed, dreams unfulfilled. And the Dominion survivors, she asked, scattered throughout the galaxy. Some are trying to rebuild, others have simply disappeared. The power vacuum is ... concerning. Sarah nodded. She had expected this. The Dominion's iron grip had maintained order through fear and oppression, but it had also prevented the chaos that now threatened to consume entire sectors. Freedom, it seemed, was more complicated than simply defeating tyrants. Commander Aria's voice came through the ship's communication system. We're receiving multiple requests for assistance from former Dominion territories, civil wars, resource conflicts, requests for intervention. Not yet, Sarah replied. We need time to heal, to rebuild. The Aegis Dominus was built to win a war, not to police a galaxy. She moved to the central holographic display, which showed the current state of known space. Green indicators marked human territories, blue showed friendly species, and red indicated areas of conflict or unknown status. There was a lot of red. The weapon served its purpose, she said, more to herself than to Dr. Webb. But now we need to decide what kind of civilization we want to be. Through the observation decks, massive windows, Earth hung like a blue jewel against the humanity's birth world, scarred by centuries of conflict but still achingly beautiful. Sarah had been born there, in the ruins of what had once been called New York, and she had always dreamed of seeing it free from the shadow of alien domination. Humanity had emerged victorious, she said quietly, her reflection staring back at her from the darkened glass. But the road ahead was uncertain. The Aegis Dominus had delivered the final blow, but now it was time for humanity to rebuild what had been lost. The galaxy was free, but the future would require a new kind of strength. Behind her, the command center buzzed with activity as humanity's leaders grappled with the challenges of peace. Trade agreements to negotiate, territories to govern, technologies to share or withhold. The decisions made in the coming months would determine not just humanity's future, but the fate of countless species across the galaxy. Sarah Chen, commander of the Aegis Dominus, hero of the liberation, stood at the threshold of a new age. The war was over, but the real work was just beginning. In the depths of space, the ultimate weapon waited, its power dormant but ready, a silent guardian of humanity's hard-won freedom. The stars stretched out before them, infinite and full of possibility. For the first time in generations, humanity could look to the future with hope instead of fear. The Dominion was broken, their children were free, and the galaxy was theirs to explore. But Sarah knew that with great power came great responsibility. The Aegis Dominus had given them the strength to break their chains, but it would take wisdom to ensure they never became the very thing they had fought to destroy. The future was uncertain, but it was theirs to write. This space battle story follows your outline while incorporating the suspenseful, dramatic, and emotional elements you requested. The high stakes of humanity's survival, the personal cost of war, and the moral complexity of wielding ultimate power are woven throughout the narrative to create a compelling tale of triumph tinged with the sobering realities of victory.